Hey, what's going on, everyone? Welcome
Good
to
morning.
the 22nd of January. We got Mars on in the car. He's on his way
Hey,
to a men's prayer breakfast, I think, right?
just a little fellowship. We just get together once a month for breakfast, and because I'm doing it the show during this time, I decided to do it today. But I just
Mm-hmm.
wanted to say hi to everybody and hope everybody have a great weekend. And I'm about to go get my grub on, but I just want to say hi to everybody.
Hi.
Good. And we got the wonderful Bria on with me this morning from KC. How you doing?
Good, thanks. How are
All
you?
right. Well, this week, it went down. It went down.
Yeah, it
The
was a lot
voting
going on.
rights bill failed. Are we surprised though?
No, no, not really. Unfortunately, no. We should be surprised. That would be normal for us to be surprised.
So we saw afterwards that people shaking Kristen Sinema's hand and like Republicans. It's like I can't help but think to myself, "Is like, is this an inside job? Is this someone like?" Uh, I mean, we know that they're getting paid by corporations. We know that the through campaign finance. I'm talking about Cinema and Mansion, of course.
Yeah,
But I
shoot.
mean, is it more than that? Is it more than just trying to appease your sort of moderate base? Because uh, what is it at this point that they are reluctant and they keep pushing back the goal line? It's like, well, no, I can't vote for that. And then they make concessions. The Democrats make concessions. No, I can't vote for that. And then they make a little bit more concessions. No, I can't vote for that. What is it?
Um, I feel like a lot of here's what I feel. It's just like Don Lemon quoted Martin Luther King, where in one of his last quotes, where he talks about basically how we want the biggest fear is not the KKK or the biggest threat to society is in the KKK. It's I should get the quote. He's basically saying it's the people that are in power who say they're with us but are too afraid to actually, you know, do what we're asking them to do the right thing,
Yep.
to push us forward. They want to keep things comfortable.
Okay.
They want to keep things the same because that's tradition. When the whole thing is that's what all this is about, is breaking tradition and finally reaching equality. I mean, voting is one of the most sacred rights of being an American. It's the
Exactly. I mean,
part-
I don't understand what tradition they're trying to protect, though. Tradition of voting, tradition of
yeah.
exercising our rights, tradition of trying to make it easier and more available for people.
I guess
Um,
it's breaking away from that, breaking away from what historically what it's been. And it seems like, I mean, obviously it's in part of lining your own pockets, but you're a Democrat. We're supposed to be a progressive party. So why are we blocking, you know, civil rights? Like,
yeah,
this is crazy. So I know that we're gonna get to that later, but I'll let you go on down there.
yeah. Well, I mean, eh, it's one of those things. We detailed what the voting rights bill would do. It would create a national holiday. It would expand, um, pre-election day voting. It would have more about, uh, allow access to more drop boxes. The mail-in balloting would be expanded. How is all this a bad thing? What are they scared of? What are they scared of? What is Kristen Cinema and Mansion scared of?
I have no idea.
They're scared of losing their power when people actually
Not
vote, when people come to the
necessarily.
polls. Huh?
But what are they doing it for? Like, you're the Democratic Party wants this. Well, this is what people who are Democrat, this is what we want.
Exactly.
So I don't, yeah.
We have
Mm,
a story about this, so
the
we're
answer.
going to watch this video and then we'll comment some more, and we want to get some more opinions
Well, they have
out
a
there
lot to
from
say. I don't want
y'all.
to go into it on the on the intro.
Okay. Well, let's talk about it on the other side of this. Hold on.
Breaking news overnight out of Washington. Senate Democrats failing to overcome Republicans who blocked voting rights legislation just hours, of course, after President Biden's marathon press conference. Our congressional correspondent Rachel Scott on Capitol Hill all night long. Rachel, good morning to you.
Cecilia, good morning. It was a very late night here on Capitol Hill, and it ended in a blistering defeat for President Biden just 1 year into office. Voting rights legislation failing once again in the Senate. Every Republican senator voting against it, calling it a power grab, a federal takeover of the election system. The measure would have made Election Day a federal holiday. It would have expanded mail-in voting, early voting. Every Democrat supported this, and they tried a last-ditch effort to change the Senate rules to pass it without any Republican support. But that was blocked by two members of the president's own party, Senator Joe Manchin and Senator Kyrsten Sinema. And take a look, just moments after that vote failed, Republicans lining up one by one to thank Senator Kyrsten Sinema, shaking her hand, Senator Mitt Romney even patting her on the back. Overnight, the president released a statement saying that he is disappointed, but he is not deterred. He even suggested that this legislation could be broken up into smaller pieces. The reality is, after a year of pressing forward with trying to get this passed, Democrats have failed 5 times. George?
Rachel Scott, thanks very much. Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC.
So there you go. They were shaking her hand afterwards. Shaking their hand afterwards. So thank you for your support, right?
I don't know what's more disgusting, right? Them lining up to shake her hand, patting her back. I guess that's what that's disgusting.
It is.
The Democrats just need to get a new strategy, strategize better. Something's just not working, because I mean, I don't see anything that's wrong with what's in the bill. How is it a power grab? Why is making voting a federal holiday? What? Listen, which vote? Let me get the bill up.
So the bill, I mean, I guess what they're saying, just to try to play devil's advocate, is that it takes away from the power of the states to hold and run elections. So that the power grab, I guess, that they're talking about is a federal power grab in order to dictate election laws around the country. Now, but isn't that a good thing? I mean, some things we need the federal government to step in and take control of. Otherwise, these state legislatures do whatever they want. They do whatever they want with abortion. They do whatever they want with not allowing to give water in election lines, closing polling locations. I mean, this is ridiculous. This is ridiculous. I don't see how you could be against this. I don't know where you go from here. Where can you go from here? I mean, because you're just going to send them on match, you're just going to continue to move the goalposts. So there's like, well, if you come up with something that maybe they will vote for, I guarantee you $100 that they'll vote against it anyways, because that's the way it's been with infrastructure, anything that they've this year that they have proposed, be it the Build Back Better plan. They came up with a figure and they said, well, is this okay? And well, no, I changed my mind. That's not okay. Is this okay? No, we have to go lower than that. Even though before they said it was said that they would support and vote for things. I don't trust them at all. Well, I'm talking about Manchin and Sinema.
I think the other thing that you're going to see, also I want to address, as Leanne Reese says, I believe Sinema said she agrees with the bill, but not ending the filibuster to pass it.
That's such a load of crap. If you supported it, then you'd want to see it pass, right?
I agree.
I mean, what am I missing here? Oh, well, I support the bill, but I don't support what would make it able to be passed in the Senate. That's double speak. And that's BS. I'm sorry.
No, I mean, you're right. I think that for a lot of us, I'm already deflated when it comes to stuff like this, because we can already see the ending before we can already see the outcome before it gets here. So it just seems like all of our efforts that we put forward to getting any type of voting laws passed, it's just such a fight all the time. And I understand that that's what it is. It's always going to be a fight, but it's like, I don't know. It kind of knocks you down a little bit. And I know we got to just pull ourselves back up and keep fighting, but it's getting kind of, in 2022, it's getting kind of old. Not
Yep, and
gonna
they
lie.
failed. Joe says they failed for the fifth time. They have made their point very, very clear. So I don't know where you go from
Yeah.
here. And
Right. But I'm saying they need to strategize differently. How? I'm not sure how. But I feel as though I know one thing for sure is Black people are at this point where we can see what's happening, but to us it's still like, you made these promises, you made these commitments during your campaign, and now, even though there was clearly a fight for it, it's just still like there's just not enough from Joe for us. I think it's like just wait, it's coming. The time is gonna get here. Your time is coming, and it's kind of
well,
like,
he did have this big speech this week that he made about the support of this. And but I think he's been too quiet. I think he's been out of the public eye.
yeah,
He's made a few speeches. He's traveled a bit. He'll pop up here and there, but he's not getting the kind of coverage that he needs, I think, to really make a difference. I'm speaking
I
of the
was gonna
president.
say
Speaking of the
it's like
president.
you gotta be more. You gotta really follow through on these promises that you made for us to vote you in office. You know what I mean? There were a lot of commitments, and it seems like there's not enough being done. This was a big thing. Voting rights was a big thing.
Mm-hmm.
And so for this to fail miserably like that is kind of and it's kind of a slap in the face. It's kind of pushing, like, I don't know. It just kind of feels like it's just being rubbed in our faces. And I even saw some comments online,
Wow.
like, some people were saying, like, I'm sick, Joe. I'm just sick of this. And they were, they waited in line to shake her hand and pat
Mm-hmm.
her on the back.
Yeah.
Terrible.
I guess
But I
LaMarr's
saw
trying.
people saying, like, where's Trump? We want Trump back. I'm like, that ain't what we said. We don't want Trump back. We just want, basic, civil liberties like everyone else, which is what we're going to get to when we get to this
Mm-hmm.
Mitch McConnell quote. But LaMarr,
LaMarr's trying to get on, I think. I
in?
don't know. You got something for us?
Sorry, guys.
You got something for us, brother? Can you hear us? Okay, I don't know what's going on, but anyways, I mean, these things didn't used to be controversial. These things used to be passed without questions. Like, do we want people to have access to vote? Yeah. Do we want more people to vote? Yeah.
Not
Do
always.
we? I mean, not always, but I mean, I'm sorry. Excuse me. You are correct.
Sorry.
So I'm
We're
thinking
talking
at
Black people.
least within my memory, at least in the 80s and in the 90s, for sure, and probably in the 2000s, this stuff did not. The first decade of the 2000s, I should say, this stuff wasn't controversial. It's like, well, do we want people to vote? Yes. So, do we want to protect access to the voting booths? Yes. How can we be against that? But it became political because we have this sort of thing out there that somehow our elections are are at fault, and they have all these illegal votes and this and this. That's not true, and so that's been poisoned the water. Even though that Sinema and Manchin will probably admit that the election was not stolen, they're still voting against the things proposed by these people, to ridiculous things proposed by these people in Texas and in Georgia and all over the place to restrict our rights to vote.
Yep. But I guarantee you, if we didn't have if we didn't see that surge of voting from minority voters last year, if we didn't see us come out and show out and flip states and, get people elected that, only we could get elected, we wouldn't see what we're seeing right now.
Well, we continue to fight. We will continue to make it an issue. We'll continue to put it on people's minds and put it out there. Last week, we focused on voting rights and election laws throughout the country. We focused on this new bill that we hoped would pass in honor of Martin Luther King Jr.'s Day last weekend, and we will continue to keep abreast of this and keep on top of this. Hopefully, we have not heard the last of this.
Well, where's the Mitch McConnell sound bite that Dad put in? Sorry, that LaMarr put in here. Is it on here?
I don't know.
Basically, let I'm gonna try to find it. Basically, Mitch McConnell, he was talking and he spoke really candidly, and he said African Americans are voting the same as Americans, and it's kind of just like, so this is how you really feel.
Hello.
Trying to find it.
What does he? Did he?
It was on here.
Does he know what he's? Did he know what he just said? I mean,
I think what happens when people are talking, they're just talking, and then their true thoughts come out. Because he couldn't have possibly meant to say that, but he did say it, which is really how he feels. That's pretty much it, which is what we've been saying this whole time, is we are not looked at as American. We're looked at as an other, or we're looked
Yep.
at, we have an asterisk by our citizenship, you know? So it's kind of like, it's kind of just like, when is it going to change? And the
Yeah.
closer that we get to real equality, things like this happen.
Yep.
You know, because people actually don't want to see it. And like I was saying last week, you ask the people who are against this type of equality, you ask them, are you for equality, or are you, do you think that everyone should be equal? Those are the people that say yes. But they don't, it's like
Yes,
they
but
don't
there's always a
understand what
but.
equality means. Equality means that you're no longer superior to me. Equality
There's
means
always
that
a
we are
but.
on the same.
hmm
They don't want to see it. They don't want to see it.
There's
And
always a
that's
but.
Mitch McConnell. Where are we going next?
His action with the bill shows he is trying to hinder the vote of minorities. I think that's from LaMarr that's out there commenting on our
Yeah.
post. So I guess his breakfast was canceled. So maybe we'll see him in the next 2 hours. Leanne says here, maybe when the old white folks die, we'll change. I think that's kind of true. That's kind of true. I mean, maybe we'll just have to wait for the things we would like to see done in this country, to be honest.
We've been waiting for a long
But
time.
we
I
have
don't
been.
think
You're
it's gonna
right.
get that.
You're
I don't
right.
think
We've
it's gonna
been
get to
waiting.
that point. I think
We've
there's
been
gonna
waiting.
be. I honestly see this happening already, where it's like Black people are taking. I won't even just say Black people. People of color, period, are taking things into their own hands, and by that I mean they're starting
We're
to
through
build
with
their own
waiting. I'm
developments.
through
They're
with
starting
waiting.
to isolate. They're starting to build their own communities, and they're
Mhm.
starting to have their own.
Take things into your
And it's
hands
like, well, what
and make it
else?
happen.
The only thing is, historically, when we've seen this happen, they've been burned to the ground. So, you know, I'm not going to say that's going to happen in 2022, but what I would say is that we are starting to see it again. Well, not that it ever stopped, but we're starting to see an emphasis on it again, where Black people they have their own businesses. They're only purchasing within, minorities are only purchasing within minority communities. Like they're only purchasing from minority businesses. You know, they're circulating money within their own communities. And
Yeah.
so for the first time in my lifetime, I'm seeing this as a major thing. I'm actually one of those Black businesses, to be honest. I get all of
Yeah.
my
What?
all of my suppliers are from small business owners.
Let
So
me ask you a question. So then, like, I know Lamar's commented extensively about this, like trying to find Black businesses, trying to find a Black doctor, trying to find a Black business owner. Sometimes it's very, very hard, and probably especially where he lives in Texas. So do you do that same thing? Do you look at like, well, I want to try to find a person of color to be my supplier for my business, or do you think in those terms? I'm just wondering. Do
so
you? Okay.
yeah, so and for me, I do purchase from Black businesses with some of my supplies, but it's also other small businesses. So I like for my wax, it's a local supplier in Ohio, but they're not Black owned. So I venture out a little bit, but I do try to stick with Black owned businesses. But in my everyday life, I really do purchase from minority businesses, hair stores. I just stopped shopping in person and now I'm online. Getting
Okay.
my hair products online.
So
Shopping with Black owned hairlines,
and
clothes.
here's a dumb question, because I'm showing my ignorance. Is how do you find them? Uh,
So for example, in Kansas City, Missouri, there are multiple businesses that advertise Black businesses or minority businesses.
okay.
Casey Black owned is one. Casey Black owned is in Kansas City, and her name is Chelsea, and she has a directory of Black-owned businesses, and
Okay,
you
that's
can go on
great.
there and pretty much find anything you need, from photography to clothes to retail to like candles
Hmm, hmm.
to lawyers to legal. Like honestly, you can find anything on there. And then in other cities, it's the same thing. You can just look up Black-owned businesses in my city, or sometimes they'll partner with your local news station, or they'll partner with a traveling company that's in your city, and they'll partner with a Black-owned business finder sort of. So it's because they're everywhere really. Oh, good. Okay, thanks. Yeah, and on Facebook
BLAP must
it
be
has
an,
its
an
own.
acronym that I don't know what that is, but
Not either. I have to look that up. But there's
OB
also,
OBW.
I'm not sure what that is either, Dad.
Okay.
But you can also do if you get on Facebook, I'm in a group right now on Facebook. I can't think of the name of it, but it's Black-owned businesses, Black-owned businesses, and they're share. I go to Central State University. I create a group me for Black-owned businesses. You have a lot of people on campus who are looking for services, and it's a HBCU. So you have Original Black Wall Street is where I am on
Okay.
Facebook, I think.
That's what that stands for then. OBW,
I created
Original
a group
Black
me for
Wall Street.
Black businesses for Central State University. So if you go to Central State University and you're watching this, we only got 3 viewers right now, but if you know anybody that goes to Central State, direct them to I think it's on there. I posted it on their wall not too long ago, but it's a Black business group for Central State University. So
We want to know out there if you try to do the same things when if you need goods and services, is there something specific you need on an ongoing basis? Do you go out and try and find a minority-owned business to do business with? Is that something that you think about and do? We want to know from you, those of you that are out there. So, BLAP is, I'm not sure, but it is the most intuitive app on the market and the first with a true GPS technology. Okay, so basically, it sounds like you can like put that on your phone and you can like click on it and it would actually like appear on your map then.
oh,
So like if you're looking for like if you're out of town, for example, like if I go out of state, I'm driving to Texas or Massachusetts or Missouri, like going to see my friends there. I can like find a Black-owned restaurant or a Black-owned, minority-owned hotel instead of staying at the
I didn't know.
at
That's
the Motel
crazy. I didn't
6.
know we had
I can
those.
try to find something like that. So like if I'm just passing through, maybe that would be a good thing to do. If I can pull up that app and it could show me where I might want to do business with. So
A Black-owned hotel? I know that sounds so crazy, but I mean, like me not knowing that was a thing.
I'm just throwing that out there. Like if I'm traveling somewhere, if I get in the car and I'm driving to Arizona for Mission or Louisiana, for example.
They exist. That's so crazy I would not have thought about that. That I would not have thought about. But here we are. Okay, let me save this in my.
So there's a Black-owned resort in upstate New York, LaMarr says.
Nice.
So I think we talked about that before.
Look at us.
Well, in other things this weekend, this is to really shift the gears. I'm just going down the list and looking at things here. You
Yeah.
probably heard about this, but there was a huge volcano at the beginning of this past week that happened near the island of Tonga in the South Pacific. And if you haven't seen the pictures of this, it's actually pretty amazing. And thank God that the predictions of disaster did not come like they thought they might. So I'm going to play this video. You'll see some of the volcanic plume from satellite. It's pretty amazing. Here's an analyst, an expert talking about it too.
Well, Mike Pollan is a geophysicist from the U.S. Geological Survey with us now, and to talk more about the eruption's impact and what dangers could lie ahead. Mike, you actually specialize in what drives volcanic activity like this and using satellite data, which we saw some of the pictures there, they're incredible, to forecast future eruptions. Talk to us about the data that you are looking at right now, and what have you actually learned about this eruption, Mike, and how much, did we actually know about this volcano before the eruption?
Well, we knew a fair amount about the eruption because geologists had been to the island to examine it. They knew that there were some potential for large eruptions based on the ash deposits they'd seen there and on neighboring islands. But the historic activity had been relatively minor. So this was certainly the biggest eruption that we'd seen from this volcano historically. In terms of the data we're looking at, it's mostly coming from satellites. A lot of the ash fell into the ocean. So in terms of trying to understand this eruption, it's really about the satellite data at this point, and it's really a bit contradictory in some ways. The ash plume, as you can see there, was absolutely humongous. And the amount of gas and ash that came out seems to not be commensurate. It doesn't quite add up to a plume that big. So there's something maybe about the interaction between magma and water that we don't quite understand that must have helped to drive this eruption.
So what's the biggest danger in an eruption like this, and how much warning did Tonga even have?
Well, the volcano had been erupting for a couple of weeks prior to this with some intermittent small explosions, obviously nothing near this big. But undersea volcanoes are a tremendous challenge to monitor. It's incredibly expensive to get instrumentation down there, and then actually monitoring that activity in real time. You'd have to have a cable or something like that to get the data back to the surface. So there was some indication that there was activity at the volcano. It had been sort of erupting off and on for a couple of weeks. It would have been difficult to forecast this kind of event just because we don't have the data we need. On land volcanoes, we can have seismometers, GPS stations, instrumentation that helps us see magma accumulating, but that's really hard to do on an undersea volcano.
Well, what needs to be done, or can anything be done to get warnings out faster?
Well, there's clearly needs to be more of an emphasis on submarine volcanoes and the hazards that they pose. It's not something that we understand that well, and there aren't that many volcanoes, perhaps a few dozen that are in that sort of special spot right near the surface of the sea, right at that ocean air interface. That's where the real explosive activity can happen on undersea volcanoes. But I think this demonstrates we got to spend more time and effort understanding these submarine hazards, and that may include monitoring. Putting more stations on islands to see those undersea volcanoes that are nearby, and perhaps having some cabled observatories, underwater observatories that can help us see this kind of activity before it really gets big like this. We're never going to stop volcanoes from erupting, but if we can get people out of the way and warn them to hunker down and eruptions on the way, that's our best defense.
You know, Mike, we just not long ago did a massive project on climate change here on ABC News Live. So kind of bringing it together to what we're seeing here in Tonga. How could a massive eruption like this affect the climate? And is it a sign of the climate and how it's shifting?
Well, for this particular eruption, it doesn't look like it'll have that much of a climate impact, fortunately. When we think of big climate impacts, we think of eruptions like Pinatubo in 1991 in the Philippines. That was a really massive eruption, and it pumped a tremendous amount of ash and sulfur dioxide gas into the atmosphere. And that creates an aerosol that reflects sunlight back, and the sunlight doesn't get back to the surface of the Earth to warm the planet. So that reflected sunlight means we had lower temperatures, slightly lower temperatures for a year or two after Pinatubo erupted. This eruption looks like it pumped about 50 times less of that sulfur dioxide gas into the atmosphere, at least preliminarily. So that's really not enough to cause climate impacts. And these sorts of eruptions don't seem to be influenced themselves by climate. There are some places where things like melting ice sheets might remove some of the pressure that keeps a volcano sort of from erupting. So there are places like Iceland where we may see some increased volcanic activity as ice sheets go away. But climate change in general, it's difficult to see how it would cause an eruption like this one. This is just a case where magma accumulation kind of hit the right spot, and there was some activity to trigger this sort of event.
Yeah, it was pretty massive. Mike Poland from the USGS, always appreciate the conversation. Thank you so much.
Okay, so the pictures are pretty amazing. In this case, not to blame on climate change, but an underwater volcano that erupted and spewed ash into the atmosphere. So interesting if you're into that kind of thing.
I actually did a little research while this was playing, and I found that more than 70% of all volcanic eruptions occur underwater. And scientists are in the dark when it comes to understanding underwater volcanoes because the eruptions are cloaked from view by thousands of feet of water. So honestly didn't even know that. But that's interesting. Did you know that? I mean, so I only knew about this eruption because everyone was on tsunami watch. The whole West Coast was on tsunami watch. Alaska, Hawaii, Japan. I was just like,
Japan,
what is going
Philippines, yeah.
on? What is going on? Yeah, that's interesting. Let's see.
We had some conversation about our last topic here of minority-owned businesses. Leanne says that she definitely does, and she tries to think about that thing. And Joe said in response, I think corporations are the ones influencing these votes, not the people. Going back to our voting rights conversation. If the people look into the stance that the corporations are taking, it would make a change.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think so? I mean, does it matter that do corporations even listen to the public anymore? Some of them. If
I
they're
think
big enough, I don't think they do.
But to listen to the public. So, okay, I think corporations are the ones influencing the votes, not the people.
I mean,
I want to break this down.
I think a lot of corporations are seem like they're more subject to their share, to their stock owners than to the public who they sell things to. I mean, do you think that Amazon really cares what you and I think?
No, not at this point.
Exactly.
Not since
because they're too big.
Gates back.
Because they're too big. So like big corporations, they're not going to care. They're beholden to their stock owners.
Oh, with the Prime went from like, what am I paying for Prime for when I'm getting the same delivery as everyone else? Now, I don't know if you saw that.
Yeah,
we all boycotted
Prime.
Amazon, they would care. Thank you, Leanne. I was gonna say, like, well, I guess our dollars go to them. That's how they are a corporation.
It would take an awful big boycott though, because people use it nowadays.
You'd be
without even
surprised
thinking.
though, because there are new delivery or e-commerce websites are popping up every day.
Yeah, hopefully we can start breaking up that monopoly a little bit and start chipping away into it, because I think it's bad for America that when corporations get too big.
I think it's bad for America that Jeff Bezos has an immeasurable amount of money right now, pretty much, and
he pays less taxes than you and I.
And his employers, his employees, sorry, are not that the pay is
peeing in bottles.
But I would say, but the treatment of the employees is pretty bad.
Yeah,
you know, I don't think the pay is super terrible, but it just the treatment is terrible. Like no. There has to be some sort of. I see a lawsuit coming down. Well, more lawsuits coming down the line. I know they have several right now.
I mean, but does that affect you though? Do you think about those sorts of things?
I used to work at Amazon. I do. I would never do it again. I was young.
But you still use Amazon, right?
No,
I still use Amazon. I bash on Amazon all the time, but I still use them.
I won't say that.
Where else can you go? Well, where else can you go?
The thing is, what do you mean? You mean like?
I mean, like here we are. I'm criticizing Amazon. Okay. Making no bones about it. But I still use Amazon. I'm an Amazon Prime subscriber.
Oh, me too.
We got something from Amazon just yesterday. So we will still use it. That's what I mean by, does Amazon really care what you or I think? Because it's not affecting their business. I got Amazon Prime on my TV because some of those shows I want to see. So I'm going to pay that fee. And so and they know that. Amazon knows that I'm going to suck it up and I'm going to purchase things from them anyways. So do they care?
I think they would care if look at the bus boycotts in the 60s. It was huge inconvenience for people, but they did it. Yeah. I think that if we were to, it's not even based on, for me, it's not based on the need for Amazon, because I would be fine to boycott Amazon. It would be inconvenient, but I can now it wouldn't be inconvenient to switch because they have a 5-day, the new Prime delivery is like 5 days now instead of 2. So I could just honestly order there's pickup everywhere. Do drive up at Target. Do the things that Amazon has, Target has
Yeah.
Walmart has.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So I mean, if we were to boycott Amazon, let's boycott Amazon. But I mean, realistically, are we going to boycott Amazon?
No. I mean,
Realistically, no.
Corporations become too big, and are you going to boycott McDonald's?
I don't eat McDonald's.
McDonald's going to stay in business anyways.
Because when you pay would you pay the base? I think it says, would you pay the fee if you knew that it was went to stop inequality? So my thing with that is, I think that we all know what Amazon is doing, right? Like I said, I worked at Amazon. I know that it's pretty terrible in terms of how people are treated, right?
How long did you work there?
3 weeks.
Was it in like a warehouse?
It was a warehouse.
Like a warehouse? Okay.
It was a warehouse, and I was doing a job called picking.
Okay.
Basically, though, the issue was the way the facility was set up is you have a certain amount of time to go to the bathroom. You have a certain amount of bathroom breaks that you can take.
Wow.
And the bathroom is nowhere near where you're working.
So you have to walk a couple football fields.
Yeah, pretty much. And then, if you need help with anything, you have to step away. So they take it into account how long are you away from your station. I foolishly picked a 12-hour shift 4 days a week, right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And I eventually quit because I'm just like, my back. I'm young, but my back can't take this. This is too much. So I ended up just quitting and going back into banking. I think I came away from banking because I'm like, maybe I need to do a job where I'm getting more active. And I was also like, I really want to get out of. I was desperate to get out. When I say desperate, I was desperate to get out of banking. Okay, I was desperate to get out of it.
What did you do in banking? Were you a teller?
I was in credit cards. I was a customer service.
Okay.
In customer
so
service
you were on the phone then.
Yeah, I was desperate to get out of it. And I was like, oh yeah, let's go make some money with Amazon. The pay is it's enticing. The pay is like, oh yeah, we're gonna pay you like 20.
Was it 15 an hour?
18. Well, I was working 12-hour shifts, so it was like 18.
18 an hour?
I started like 18 something an hour. And then I was like, is it worth it though? Like, is it worth it? My friend May was getting. Ooh, I didn't mean to say her name. Sorry, May. She was getting paid like 20 an hour.
Okay.
And I don't know what they base it off of, but and there was like a sign-on bonus too. I think when I started working there,
Okay.
I only worked for 3 weeks. So I don't know how that works out. I don't know how that worked out.
I agree with LaMarr that I think Americans are too selfish and spoiled to boycott companies. We like our convenience. We like that we can order something and get it in 2 days. I guess it's 5 days now. That might make a difference. That might make a difference, though. If it's 5 days, then I'm going to go somewhere else.
The other thing is this: if you get discounts, if you're a student, you get 6 months of Amazon Prime free, and you only have to pay half of that.
They rope you in. And then later on, you can't live without it.
Yeah, we're inhumane, but come on, we'll give you a free membership, and it's just like, well, yeah, of course. But when you look at your everyday life, how many companies do you do business with that have the same ideology? In your everyday life, how many times do you shop at?
Honestly, I don't know. I mean, because most of the time I don't pay attention. I mean, unless I don't go to Chick-fil-A, I don't go to Hobby Lobby because I know about their stance.
No, Hobby Lobby, they got me. I'm sorry. Yeah, go ahead.
If I know about maybe some sort of stance that they have, I might either stay away or go there. But for example,
what did Hobby Lobby do? They did something to me. What they do?
There's just been a lot of political things coming from Hobby Lobby about that their owners are pretty conservative and things like that, and they've supported GOP candidates and things like that. I don't want to misspeak, but I don't remember all the things. But I don't really go to Hobby Lobby. I don't really shop at those kinds of stores. So
I
not
shopped at
usually.
Hobby Lobby frequently
Okay.
when I first started my business for staging. So I would get like my fall stuff from there, like take pictures of my candles and stuff. And I stopped shopping with them officially over Christmas. I went to this one sounds so crazy, but I'm gonna tell you guys, I don't have a picture of it. I don't want to get sued for defamation or whatever. But basically, their Christmas display, all the Christmas Santas they have, like these figurines of like the Santas, the porcelain Santas, right? They had a whole table and they stuck one black Santa in the middle of like 50 white Santas. Okay. And it was like, find the Santa, because
What?
right in the middle, I have to have a picture of this right in the middle, because no one would believe me if it sounds unbelievable. They had one huge black Santa. It's a huge black Santa in the middle of like 100 other Santas, right? But then on the other side of the table, there's like two little tiny black Santas, and you gotta try to like find the black Santa out of all the other. I'm just like, this has got to be a joke. This can't be serious. But
It's
it
not
was.
a joke.
It was not a joke.
I agree with LaMarr. It's hard to boycott when your options are limited. Yes, that's why I think we need more options. If we had more smaller businesses out there, then there would be more options. The more that there is monopolies in this country, then we don't have a choice. Do we want our cat food or not? Okay. Oh, you have a picture of it. Look at that.
One black Santa. Sorry, my nails. What is this? Hobby Lobby? Hobby Lobby in Middleton, Missouri. Look at all these Santas. All these white Santas, right? And then
that's something that we did not talk about is minority Santas. Why not have a minority Santa?
One little black Santa right there.
I know. I mean, why not? Who cares what color Santa is? Honestly, I mean, I can, maybe people seem to worry about what color Jesus was, but really, I mean, Santa Claus is a fictional character, so it means even less.
It means
even less.
I mean, I just thought that they went out of their way with that one big black Santa. It was uncomfortable.
Okay, I see.
I also live in a predominantly white area, so I was probably the only black one in Hobby Lobby at that point. But yeah, did you read this one?
Yes, we read that. Yeah, it's hard to boycott when our options are limited. What are our options? Do we want books? Do we want books for our classes in college? Where do we go? Barnes and Noble, Amazon. Where are our options?
I want to point out, so I see your point with this, with that limits our boycotting options, but we're really not limited. Is the other part that I see what you're saying, but you're saying other ethnic groups spend money within their own people. Right. Like I was saying, if black people were to spend money in black businesses, with black businesses, for every white business for every idea that you have of what you want to buy, from food to clothes to hair to nails to anything, to legal representation to doctors, there's a black business or a black organization for it. There are black doctors. My father would go to a black chiropractor.
But they might be. You might have to travel to find them.
You do. Right now, I am with one of my doctors. She's Indian. I want to go to a black women's doctor.
Okay, so where do you have to go?
An hour away. She's on the
north. An hour. So you live in a suburb of a major city, Kansas City.
Well, if I were to live in Kansas City, it wouldn't be an hour. I live I live in Kansas City in a surrounding area. I live south of the city, which means I have to drive an hour north to get to my black doctor. I had a previous black doctor.
How far out of Kansas City are you?
I'm about 15 minutes out of Kansas City.
Okay, so you would think that you would be able to find a minority black women's OBGYN
sure there are
in
more.
Kansas City. But you have to drive an hour. An hour.
And I would be willing to drive the hour. I'm currently trying to find Black pediatricians for my children as well. But there are none over here.
Have you found any?
No. They are here. They're just farther away.
Okay.
But I have it. What it takes is the willing to just drive that. You don't go to the doctor every day. You go maybe once or, maybe once every few months for the kids. And then maybe, depending on who your appointments are with, maybe once every few months for yourself. It's not like you're going every day. So I'm willing to drive that hour.
LaMarr wanted to get in on this. So what do you got for us, sir?
Yeah, I was just when I made that post was when I made that comment about the options. Bria's right. I mean, there are more Black businesses, for instance, that are out there that we need to support, but because the options are limited, and not only that, culturally, we have not done that. Not since the 60s, 70s, and maybe early 80s. A lot of the small businesses, if you notice in the communities, were sold off. They were sold for the money.
Mm-hmm.
So then what happened was that other minority groups, Middle Easterners came in, Asian community came into those same Black businesses and were selling products to our communities where we could have been doing that. But we sold them. We sold those companies. So now that we're starting, it's like we're starting from scratch again, trying to get these companies the attention they need, this big small business boom. But still,
I want to touch on that.
Our money lasts in our hands within our community less than 8 hours. Where other ethnic groups, the money in their communities lasts weeks, months. The Jewish community, money rotates, recycles in their own communities the longest than anybody. It's Jewish community, the Asian community, Hispanic community. Well, the Jewish community, the white community, Hispanics, and then the Black community. We are the least to spend money within our own people first. As soon as we get our check, it goes to another
someone
group
else.
of people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Can I touch on the
that's
Black
what I was
business
meaning.
owners, though?
So hold on one second. So when it comes to boycotting, that limits us from boycotting because when we need our groceries or we need our clothes cleaned,
you need to see a doctor.
We need our cars. We need to see doctors. We have to go to someone else because
your car needs to be fixed.
Yeah, we had to build that back up.
Yeah.
That's all.
So Joe made a comment about the NFL. I'm not sure what he means by that. So if you want to comment further on that, Joe.
Can I? Oh,
go ahead, Bria. You had
I
something
was going to say that. So as far as the back in the, I want to think about when did gentrification start really heavily in cities like New York and Chicago and the big cities where you drive through where the hood meets the nicer areas and it's heavily gentrified.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Those businesses were sold out. They did take the money. I don't know if this is what you're referring to, Dad, but I'm just going to speak in a general sense. You have small Black businesses that are in brick and mortar shops.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Whether they sold they were going to get pushed out anyway. I mean, you have some small businesses that are still there. You have some barber shops that are there. You have some, seamstresses maybe. But if you have prime real estate in an area that they were trying to heavily gentrify, you are getting pushed out. And what choices you have but to take the money? Because if you didn't take the money, somehow you were going to get your property taken away from you, even if it was yours, even if you owned it. Just like with with residents in those areas, you either get out or they jack your rental prices up where you can't afford it. They push you out. That's how they gentrify. So when we think about brick and mortar businesses that sold their businesses, I'm sure that those companies didn't want to. I'm sure that they were put in an impossible position where they had to. I just want to clarify that a little bit.
No, but when I was saying about, I wasn't really talking about gentrification as much as when people sold their businesses because they wanted to move into another community. But if you look at the Mount Pleasant area of Cleveland, there's a lot of small businesses still there. But how many of those gas stations that were Black owned that sold, or corner stores that were Black and they sold them? That's not gentrification because they're not building up that community as much. That community isn't being built up. There's not a lot of money being invested in them areas. So that's not gentrification compared to something like 79th and Huff area, for instance, where they gentrify that area. That's different. So it's still a lot of, we need to still build up back black businesses. So if we ever came into a movement of boycotting, it can happen. Like, for instance, with that voting rights bill that failed, I was talking to some people this week saying that what might happen is that what if we charter buses again to take people to the polls to vote? Because it may get to a point in some areas where elderly people in wheelchairs or walkers can't drive 40 minutes away, stand in a line for so many hours to vote. It may be great to have a charter bus take them down. Yeah. You know, as you can take a group of them at one time. And that's what churches did on Souls to the Polls. They would load up a church bus and go vote.
Yeah.
So we may have to do that again in a sense of gathering groups of people. But the thing about it is that will the Republicans make a bill against carpooling?
You can't charter bus people to the polls.
You can't?
No, I'm saying that's what they're gonna come up with.
What I'm saying is that it may be. I know they tried that. They had that in one of the bills. I think it was.
They don't seem to mind when
it was rejected at one time.
They don't seem to mind when a van full of people from the nursing home come. But go ahead.
My thing is everything they're blocking has, not everything, but a lot of it has already been done and been going on since voting has ever since started. Like mail-in voting has always been a thing.
It's always been a part of us. Yep.
It's not new. Yeah. It's not something it's not an exception. It's always been a thing. It's
and
never.
You could always vote early, right? I mean, I can't remember when you could not vote early. So
because the people who they never intended to use it are actually using it. That's the problem.
Yeah, exactly. That's the problem. Yeah. And see, what the debate I had yesterday online was that they were asking me what's illegal within the law when it comes to voter suppression. And it's not about what they doing illegal. The whole fact of voter suppression is that you created legal laws to allow suppression to happen. And one of those are like you're saying, like we were talking about in Lincoln, Georgia, it was 8 polls there. Now they're down to 1 poll that's 25 miles away.
Yeah.
It's 25 miles one way. Now it was done legally within the law.
Yeah.
But why would you need to do that? What's the
exactly.
purpose? You know, absentee voting, same thing.
Joe explains here that the NFL could take away a team and a stadium from a state that is doing some shitty stuff. They could, but they won't.
Yeah.
The NFL likes money more than Amazon.
Coming in.
Come on.
Hey,
I mean, they move teams to Las Vegas. They move beloved teams to LA where nobody cheers for them. I mean, come on.
Here you go with the NFL. Here's one that's going to stir a lot of problems. I just heard about it yesterday. So, Josh McCown, you remember him from the Browns, quarterback?
Yes.
He's being looked at for the Texans, for the new Houston Texans job. Now, this guy has no coaching experience. Now, you just got rid of Cully, who was there, who has worked his butt off for 40 years to be an NFL coach. And
meanwhile, Eric Bieniemy does not get an interview.
Eric Bieniemy doesn't get one. And then they're interviewing these guys, but you're like really pushing for Josh McCown to get this job. And I'm like, he has no experience. And that's going to cause a big problem. If you look on Twitter or just Google it, Twitter and Josh McCown, you're going to see all these remarks to this because it's like a slap in the face to any NFL coach of minorities that have yet to get a coaching job. And if you look at most of them are older guys. The young guys, they're not giving them the jobs to yet. So just keep an eye on that story.
Yeah, every year, this time of year, when at the end of the regular season happens and you see a half dozen or so head coaches lose their job, you hear it every year that some people are getting the opportunities, some people aren't. And why is that? Well, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know how. I don't have the answers.
I'll tell you exactly. I'll give you the answer to that. The answer to that is comfortability. For instance, it's so much easier for a white quarterback who has a white coach and white ownership, the majority of your management team, because there's a comfortability there. When you bring someone else into those positions, then there's that I don't know factor. How are they going to handle certain situations?
It's not just the NFL.
Thing. No, but just about every sport where if you have a position of minorities that are limited. But football, the NFL shows it at the greatest. You can see it with the NFL. There's no question about it in the NFL. And it's the comfortability factor. You can talk to players, they'll tell you that. It's the comfortability factor of knowing that quarterback and that ownership is going to have the same viewpoint on majority of issues. They're going to handle it. You said it yourself, Darrin. You don't cause controversy because you want to keep peace. You don't want to cause a disruption. A black person that's feeling something's not right are going to speak up.
Well, so Joe Elder just referenced the Rooney Rule.
The Rooney Rule is a rule that says that you should, that there's
No,
a requirement to
actually.
interview minority candidates.
It actually is required for teams to interview at least two external minority candidates for a head coaching job and at least one external minority candidate for a coordinator position.
Well, let me give you an example from the NBA. The New Jersey Nets. The New Jersey Nets hired Steve Nash, who had no coaching experience.
Exactly.
This is a contender. The Nets have a lot of star players. This is a contender for a title, and you give it to a guy who has no coaching experience. Now, I like Steve Nash. A lot of people like Steve Nash, but how is it that he would get this opportunity and not somebody else who has coaching experience? It happens not just in the NFL.
Do you think that's different with basketball since it's based on like likability? I mean, not based on likability, but clearly.
I don't know.
Because some of our favorite black athletes, this is just playing devil's advocate. Some of our favorite black basketball players would end up being coaches, hired immediately for a coaching position, no?
Who did?
No, I'm saying, wouldn't that be the same with some of our favorite black athletes, our favorite black basketball players?
I mean, if they wanted to, someone like a Magic Johnson would be hired, but I don't think he wants to. Larry Bird was hired for a while with the Indiana Pacers as their head coach.
Magic coached
Michael Jordan has not coached, but he's been involved in the GM side of things. So,
when LeBron retires, if he wanted a head coaching position, you don't think they would give it to him?
Sure, they would, but I don't think he would want that.
Right, I'm not saying that he would want it, but I'm saying like if
one of the things
is that a race thing or is that a?
I think it's partially a race thing. I'm talking about like minority coaches who are out there that have been assistants or head coaches in the past that may not be household names. I'm not an expert on the NBA, but there's got to be somebody more experienced and more qualified than Steve Nash, who has never been a head coach at the NBA level. I'm just saying.
Joe, you're funny. He said LeBron could be president. They probably would vote him in the president. They probably would vote for him.
Coaching that team was getting them to the playoffs. When they became a premier team, he was moved out the door, and in comes Steve Kerr. How did that happen?
Steve Kerr is another example.
You look at Tony Dungy. Tony Dungy built that championship team with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. When they became a playoff team, they moved him out and brought in John Gruden. They won a Super Bowl. It happens. It happens. And the thing about it is that how do we address it, and how do we allow these coaches to go ahead and get these jobs and keep these jobs? A black coach loses his job, it takes them years to get that position back. When you get another white coach lose his job, and the very next year he's coaching another team, or he's on.
How much do you want to bet? How much do you want to bet that Urban Meyer returns to coaching very soon? How much do you want to bet that Urban Meyer gets another opportunity?
No, I was just trying to determine if it's the same between the NFL and the NBA as far as racial.
Can you guys hear me?
Disparity in
yeah, we can hear you. Yes, we can hear you. Yes, I can hear you. Yes. Well, We got a lot of topics
Yeah.
that we could talk about. One of the ones that
Since we're on football,
since we're on football, what's your picks for this weekend? You got KC? You got KC? You got
Uh-oh.
KC? Are you a KC?
I'm a KC fan.
Tomorrow night against Buffalo?
Well, I'll be honest with you. I don't really keep up with. I know we're in playoff season now, so I will be watching the games now. But throughout the season, I honestly did not keep up. I just was like, go Chiefs, on the game days, and didn't watch the games, unfortunately. However, I will be keeping up with the. I think there's a game tonight. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
Playoffs are in full swing.
Mm-hmm. They've been doing good though.
Today is the Titans and the Bengals, and I believe it is the
or the Chiefs play tomorrow.
The Bucks, and I wasn't I had this all in my head yesterday, and
they play the Bills tomorrow.
Yes, the Chiefs and the Bills should be an exciting game. I just wonder what you thought about that. But we had some other issues that are outside of the football field in regards to NFL players. Go ahead, Bria.
Oh, right. Yeah, thanks. That's what I was going to say. I was going to say, before we move on, speaking of Chiefs, did you want to talk about the NFL, the two players right now that we know that have been arrested? Willie Gay was arrested. He plays for
the Chiefs. Yeah, the Buccaneers against the Rams. Thank you. Yeah, I'm sorry.
And then also
go ahead.
McCown with the Browns was arrested.
Two separate incidents.
Yeah.
We'll start with Malik because that was just in my head just now. But a bizarre scene in Florida, and I'm surprised. I'm glad that nothing happened to him.
Yeah.
I'm glad he's okay. But he was seen naked, running down the street, and he kind of
near a children's learning center.
Tackled a police officer. So
he doesn't remember any of it.
He said he does not remember it. Said that someone might have slipped something in his drink.
Well, to clarify, this was in the daytime. This was not sure what time, but it was early in the day. And he had just came back from the gym. So he went to the gym in the morning, and then shortly after this happened. So for me, that doesn't scream that he was drinking or he was drunk or anything, to be honest. I mean, what could have happened? I don't know. It could have been a possibility of a million things. What I don't like, though, I mean, somebody could have slipped him something. He could have had a mental break. Like, something happened, but I don't like the articles are referencing his past of alcoholism and his past of, getting arrested and going to jail for assault charges. I don't really like how articles are referencing that part of his history with this event without having any context, without understanding what happened.
Right. Joe says only in Florida. Yeah, that is so true. Only in Florida.
Yeah, I know. Whenever I see Florida in the headlines, I already know something going on.
Willie Gay was the I muted him because he's got a lot of background noise here. So go ahead, LaMarr. What do you got?
I was trying to catch up to your. I want to catch up to your topic. I went into a dead spot where my signal was just out. I was talking and I didn't hear no response. I'm like, wow, nobody can hear me. So I'm not sure. But what are you guys talking about now?
We're talking about Willie Gay.
Willie Gay and Malik McDowell.
Okay.
Willie Gay plays with the Chiefs. He will play in the playoff game tomorrow night, as we mentioned, 4 days after he was arrested and charged with a misdemeanor criminal property damage. And this is a statement from Coach Andy Reid. So he pled not guilty on Thursday to this, and charges stemming from an incident involving his ex-partner.
So he was arguing with the mother of his child, and I guess he broke her vacuum cleaner.
And cell phone screen,
And cell phone screen, okay. And so she called the police, he was arrested. So,
thoughts? Should he be playing? Should he be, is this serious enough to disqualify him?
We got some conversation going on. He was normal, then he was fighting the cops in front of a preschool, and then Bryce. Nothing about this is normal. He was butt naked walking around the neighborhood. Okay, so I'm not laughing, it's not funny. But I do think that he doesn't remember. He said he doesn't remember what happened. Malik McDowell, we're back to Malik McDowell. Not with
Yes.
We should have made this two separate.
Says
but
he doesn't remember what happened, and that he was someone slipped something in his drink, maybe. So I don't know. It was in the middle of the day. I mean, clearly the police should have intervened, which they did. And so I'm just glad that he's okay. And if it is foul play, if there's like foul play involved, then we want to make sure that it is taken care of, I guess. So
So do you know the timeline? When did he go to the gym in the morning, and when was he outside naked?
I don't know.
Because if we can establish a timeline, I mean, being drunk or being intoxicated doesn't happen that fast.
Yeah.
Where you like, he had to strip down naked and go to where he was. So was he already? I mean, it's kind of hard to understand how he got here. This is such a bizarre situation, because this is not your typical, oh, he was out drinking and now he's. So this is my thing with football players. Not all of them, but I will say this. It's like lately, it seems like, I mean, consistently, I mean, throughout from what I'm seeing from last year to this, I mean, there's just a ton of, I mean, it's just always something. You had the young man who was driving his car really fast, like it was a Lamborghini, I think. He was driving super fast and hit that young lady's car, and her car exploded and she passed away just a few months ago. You had the day before the Super Bowl last year, the coach's son, right? Was drunk driving and hit the family's car, and the boy was in the ICU. You've got the one officer just a few weeks ago the one football player, just maybe a few months ago, who body slammed the mother of his child into a table. It was on camera. So it's kind of just like, or right. I mean, like, it's time for one. There is some things that have to be addressed, especially when it comes to the domestic violence stuff. Is that we need to start having these players. I'm not sure what the policy is on evaluating the players for concussions, but there's a proven link between, I'm not sure if it's now a fact or theory, whatever, but there's a link between the concussions that NFL players sustain, and also between their domestic violence, their aggression.
Well, that's a good point. That's a good point about possible concussion connections here. Bryce says that he was in an ATV accident and had a head injury. So not to say that this is the cause of it, but it could be related. So.
What is the name of the concussion? What is the name of that?
The NFL has a concussion protocol. Is that what you're referring to?
They have a concussion protocol, but what? CTE. Chronic traumatic encephalopathy?
Encephalitis? Is that what it is?
No. I'm gonna read what it is. Okay, sorry, you guys. Okay, it's a neurodegenerative disease linked to the repeated blows to the head. Okay, that's what CTE is. And CTE has been linked to domestic violence in football players. It's been talked about for years. And I feel like...
No, I say right. I'm in agreement.
And I would say the only reason why they know a person, the only way to know is after they've already died. They've done this research on corpses, not on live, humans. So it's like, they need to take it a little more seriously, I think, especially then in these cases where you have it's repeated, though. You have these cases of NFL players in these situations where they're in a domestic violence in a dispute. And so with Willie Gay, it was like heartbreaking to see that, but I'm glad it was a vacuum cleaner and a cell phone screen and not, you know, the mother of his child. And the other thing that I want to say is people were saying, like, I don't think I was one of those people at first, where I don't think he should have been arrested for this, or I don't think that this or that. But you have to think about it. For him to be upset enough to break the vacuum cleaner, for him to break the cell phone screen, well, what do you do in that case if you're arguing with somebody and you? What do you do?
Let me
What was
ask
she
you
supposed
guys.
to do? Was she supposed to wait and see? Okay, is it going to be me next, or what's going to be next? He's not leaving. He's breaking stuff. What
Yeah.
do you think about that, guys?
Well, I think this is a larger issue that is worth talking about CTE, because if you recall, it was like 4 or 5 years ago, I think, in the NFL. Some reports came out about the seriousness of head injury issues in former players, and then the NFL, um, had a big campaign, and I think they change their helmets. I remember there was a movie that came out with Will Smith
Will
was
Smith,
in,
Yeah.
and after that, they seemed to really care about their players and young people, like in high school, junior high kids who play this sport who might get a concussion and the seriousness of that. But you haven't heard about that in the last couple of years, have you? I mean, you haven't heard it be promoted. You haven't heard it be a part of the conversation. I don't think as much as you should. People were people turning off football enough? Were people turning on football? Were people turning off the NFL? Was the NFL losing money? Did they want it to go away? This is, I'm a fan of football, and I sometimes forget, watching these guys get hit, that when they get to be 40 or 50 and retire from the sport, they have all these knee issues and can barely walk, and then they begin to have neurological issues. That's sad. Is any amount of money worth that to be debilitated at an early age and die? Is it? No, it's not. And
What
so I
on
think
the in
that
the Willie Gay thing with Willie Gay? Did he hit his girlfriend, or was it just the vacuum cleaner?
No, he broke the vacuum cleaner, and you said he broke her cell phone screen. I didn't see the cell phone screen, but yeah.
Okay, so for that situation, I could see the police officers coming out, but I don't think he should have got arrested. I think they should have made him leave the house.
What I would
I mean, that was
say
a dispute, but that was why I say that is because there are situations where you get arrested. Yes, if he's resisting the police. Yes, if he's forcing his way into the house and the police are trying to keep him out. Yes, arrest him. But if the police came there and they were able to get him to leave the house, there shouldn't have been a reason, in my opinion, to arrest him for
so
that.
this is where I disagree with that. I disagree with that majorly as a woman, because, and I'm glad we can see both sides of this conversation. As a woman, to know the fear of, you don't know if this person is going to come back. You don't know if he's going to be so mad that you call the police that he comes back to your house. You don't know. And so it's not about him being arrested for domestic violence. It's about you broke things, and you, like Leanne was saying, you were breaking things and threatening me. How did you go from breaking the vacuum cleaner to breaking my cell phone screen? How do we get from that distant vacuum cleaner to my personal and my hand belongings? Not saying it was in her hand, but I'm assuming. You know what I'm saying? So, and then you have to think of that level of anger when someone is so angry that they are breaking things. You know what I'm saying? You don't know where that's going. So I don't blame her or fault her for calling the police at all. What is she supposed to do against a almost 300-pound football player? But you have to also think about, right, I'm saying we have to also think about when you have, how many times had items been broken in the house before that? What was the name of the former football player who was on videotape body slamming his girlfriend into a table? We don't know.
Yeah.
How long did it take for it to get to that point? How many police
I
calls
agree.
have been called to the
He
house?
assaulted her.
Well, I mean, you
Only reason why
recall.
I say that because disputes happen all the time. Arguments
That's not
happen
a
all the
dispute.
time. Well, what I'm saying is people have disputes and they also have things damaged all the time in these type of in the homes, whether it's arguments, neighbors, or whatever. But what I'm saying is that he didn't assault her in the sense of hurting her. He didn't lay hands on her. Is why I said there shouldn't have been an arrest. Keep doing a restraining order, like the guy that body slammed his wife, his girlfriend, or whatever. He had a restraining order. And he violated that.
Mm-hmm.
What I'm saying is, how long did it take for that to happen? Because but that's my point too. Was how did he go from breaking a vacuum cleaner to breaking my cell phone screen?
I agree.
That's too close.
I agree. I mean,
Well, if you remember, it was like 8 or 10 years ago when the Ravens running back was had that incident with domestic abuse. No, it was a running back, not Ray Lewis. It was, and then the NFL had all of this promotion against domestic violence and domestic violence awareness. We don't hear about that anymore, do we?
Oh, he says temperament during the interaction with the police was the differentiating
happens, but
factor
we don't hear anything from the NFL about it.
And being arrested.
Are we still taking it seriously?
I'm about to go log in and I'll go to my computer and log in. But I also want to give a shout out to Bryce for joining the show.
Thanks,
and
Bryce.
Shout out Bryce is my son, and my shout out to my son-in-law George. Hey, what's going on? Glad to see you guys here. I'll be with you guys in a second.
George Cheney, welcome.
That's my husband.
All right.
Yeah, I didn't know that. So I guess we gotta go. So I guess his involvement with the officers would decided him being arrested. So it must have still been a heated exchange.
Well, I just think that we still need to keep the NFL's feet to the fire in regards to head injuries, domestic violence, and making sure that they are responsible. They're responsible.
Yeah, I bet she had her phone.
Product.
Leanne, I was thinking the same thing. I'm so sorry. And I bet she had her phone to call the police and he snatched it away.
Yep.
Or she was holding her phone and he snatched it from her. And for me,
that makes sense.
For me, that's too close. This is a football player, okay? This is not, he's not a teacher or even no matter who it is, but this is a big man. Okay? This is not like, no.
Felicia, good morning to you.
Oh, hello there.
Thank you for joining us, Miss Felicia. Good to have you. So I want to, we have a lot of things here, and we have a big list of things. So I want to make sure that we talk about some important stuff here, or what I think is important. This is starting. This trial is starting this week. For the we obviously had the Chauvin thing. Now we have the trial for the three cops that were just standing around, right? So I think this would be interesting. I think this would be even more interesting. It could be, has the potential to be even more interesting. So there's 18 jurors, 18, I guess, because it's a grand jury, I guess, were selected Thursday in a federal trial against 3 Minneapolis cops charged in George Floyd's death. I'm trying to talk too fast here, sorry.
Yeah.
All the jurors appeared to be white, and the judge told the potential panelists in the case they had absolutely nothing to do with race. So the former officers, one is of Asian descent, one is white, and one is black. They're charged with depriving Floyd of his rights as a former police officer, Derek Chauvin, kneel on his neck. So what do you think? Does it have nothing to do with race? Do you really believe that? No, of course it has something to do with race.
I think that. Also, did you mention that it was stated that what Chauvin's actions wouldn't have any effect on the trial for these other 3 officers?
I don't know if I believe that, but
I don't know why they would say that to the judge. Said that apparently. they have also done the jury selection as well.
I don't know about this judge already. I don't know about this judge.
Yeah.
I don't.
And most of the
I don't
jury
know
is
if I
white.
trust it. So one of them, Kyung, knelt on Floyd's back. Lane restrained his legs, and Thao prevented concerned citizens from intervening when this was going on. So they actually had physical. I apologize. They weren't just standing around. In some cases, they were physically involved in this as well. Anything predictions about this? What do you think?
Yeah, I don't think that they are going to get the same kind of sentence that Chauvin received. Or did he what was his sentence? What was the sentence for Chauvin? Do you know? I know he still has to go to federal court.
What is that dinging?
That is me,
What is
and
that
I'm
dinging?
sorry.
What happened? Is that your your phone?
It is my
That was
computer,
loud.
and I'm so sorry.
That's okay.
Let me just turn off these notifications. So, but yeah, so I don't think they're going to receive the same sentencing or the same.
It says a note, Chauvin was sentenced to 22 and a half years. Go ahead.
Okay, yeah, I don't think that's going to happen. I think that the jury is going to look at the situation. They're going to look at the footage. It looks like they're following orders. Now, standing for the officer that was preventing that EMT from coming to try to save Chauvin's life, I don't know how that's going to go for him, because right there was an opportunity to offer medical support, offer some sort of help for Floyd, but he didn't allow it. In fact, he looked kind of arrogant as he was telling her that she could not help. Do you know what I'm talking about? There was she was saying she could help. She was giving them instruction on how to see if he's breathing. He was not allowing it. He wasn't listening to her. No one was doing anything to help. And so I think maybe it'll weigh differently on him. I don't know, but I think that the jury is going to make a connection with them being new on the job and following orders from Chauvin.
Okay. Well, Al Sharpton is on the way. Is that true? Al's going to be there, Reverend Al.
Yeah. Are they going to allow him in the courtroom? That's basically lately, right? He was not allowed in the courtroom for the
Well, he was there, and then the judge says something. I think they took out all the pastors, right? The pastors were kicked out.
That was in Wisconsin, right?
What?
No,
that
this
was in Wisconsin,
Minneapolis.
Right?
Yeah, Minneapolis.
No, the judges, the pastors got kicked out in Wisconsin, Kenosha.
Oh, we're talking about.
Okay, yeah, we're talking. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah, when he said the pastors got kicked out, I said, yeah, that was in.
That was in Kenosha. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, if they let him in or not. I was just curious that he would be there. So I guess he probably would. I mean, he was there for Derek Chauvin.
Well, what I will say though is that lately we're seeing officers carrying heavier sentences. We are seeing justice we're starting to see it come down on these officers that are trained to be officers, bless you, and trained to protect the community and trained to do what, follow protocol. And we're seeing these officers break protocol continuously over and over again. And they are finally starting to get justice. We're finally starting to see justice served. And that's, it feels like we're moving forward. The voting act that just failed, the John Lewis Voting Act that failed, that was for us, that felt like a punch in the chest, a step back. But seeing officers getting justice, I know they're completely separate, but it's just like you got wins and you have loses right now. And it just kind of feels like as far as our country holding these officers accountable for their actions, that feels like a win. It really does, especially with the officer that shot Devontae Wright. She was just found guilty. We had the Chauvin who was found guilty. Yeah. There was another officer who just received life in prison. Who was that? Oh, I'm sorry. There weren't officers. That was Ahmaud Arbery's killers. I won't even say their names on here. I remember their names, like Michael.
You know,
Scott.
I guess there would have been a time, and I don't know this, but I don't know this for sure that these accompanying officers would not have been charged at all.
I'm sorry.
Wasn't I mean, I think there was a time that these accompanying officers would not have been charged. These
Oh,
additional officers would
absolutely,
not have been charged because,
absolutely.
like you
Probably
said,
about 4 years ago.
they were following orders. Maybe I don't know. They were listening to Chauvin, who was their senior. So, um, yeah. So,
I
uh,
hope that we're not still in that time because we don't know what's going to happen. But yeah, maybe about 5 years ago, they wouldn't even be on trial right now.
predictions. What do you? So you don't think that you're not sure what to expect, Bria? What do you think, LaMarr? Are these people going to be guilty? Going to be found guilty?
I just saw the story that wow, it just took me back. You know Regina King, the actress?
Yes.
Yeah, her son committed suicide.
Oh, wow. What?
Yeah, I'm just looking at it now. Oh man, I didn't know that. Wow.
Oh,
Yeah,
when?
I'm just. I guess it was just. I just saw this posted today.
Oh,
I'm not sure. I'm still reading it now. It was reported that it shook social media up overnight. So I guess it happened yesterday, last night or something.
oh, he's 26. Wow, that's so sad.
Yeah, yeah. He had this thing. He did this thing at the Golden Globes, telling he had a supermom. Man, wow. Okay, sorry to interrupt y'all with that. I just happened to see that.
Wow,
Yeah.
that is
Oh,
very
just so
sad.
sad.
One of my favorite
Yeah,
actresses. I know she's going through it.
yeah. So I'm sorry. You talking about the Chauvin, the 3 cops?
Yes.
Sorry about that. I was just looking up some details about that, and I just saw this story that just caught my attention.
Okay.
Wow.
We just want to know, what do you believe will happen with these 3 cops? Will they be found guilty? Are they going to lose their jobs?
Oh, they're guilty.
Honestly, I think they're gonna be guilty. I wasn't confused about that. I was saying their charges they might not be found guilty on all the charges, or they might receive a lesser sentence or a lesser their charge.
Okay.
What are the charges what are they being charged with?
That's what I'm looking for now. I think they're looking at like 15 years or something.
That would be the
heard
maximum sentence.
I thought I heard something like that.
I don't think they're gonna get that.
Well, they should never be a police officer again. That's for sure.
Weren't they on the job? That was their first week on the job, right?
One of the guys, I think one of the guys was his first week, right? Or one of them. Was it Chung?
I was gonna say, I think he's gonna get. Are they gonna be tried? Are they getting set are there separate cases or are they all in the same
The
case?
charges are as follows: violating Floyd's civil rights, willfully depriving Floyd of his liberty without due process, specifically depriving him of the right to be free from an officer's deliberate indifference to his medical needs. The indictment says that the 3 men saw Floyd needing medical care and willfully failed to aid him. So that's the charge.
Oh, well, I guess willfully. Can they prove that? I mean, I'm not speaking to their defense. I'm saying, can they prove that it was willful, though, if they were under the direction of Chauvin, who's a senior officer? Is that an argument that they would have, that you think prosecution, that the defense would make?
Maybe.
They didn't have to do it, though. They could have defied his order. They could have defied his order.
At what cost?
Hey, I would. Doesn't matter the cost if you're trying to do the right thing.
I think you have to think of the intent.
What would you have done?
I think you have to think of the intent of it, and you have to think of the intent of the officers while they were restraining him. You have to think of, this is their first week on the job, and a senior officer is directing them to do something. So they went through. I know this is. I'm not going to speak into their defense. I'm just trying to see the angle maybe that they're going to take with this. Did they really have a choice? Was it a choice, or were they under?
I think they have a choice. You always have the choice to do the right thing.
You
Right?
do, but I'm
So,
thinking
I mean, if someone's
as an
kneeling
officer.
on someone's neck, I don't care if they're my boss. I don't care if they have the ability to fire me. Fire me. I would say, get up off of his neck. I'm going to step in and I'm going to try to pull him off, or
But Darrin, are
or I'm
you
going to
though?
tackle
If
him.
you
Yes.
no,
Yes.
I'm not speaking like I said, you guys. In no way, they were absolutely wrong. I'm speaking to what I think is going to be an argument. That's all.
Sure, it's going to be an argument, but they were wrong not to step in.
They're absolutely
Period.
wrong. I mean, there were multiple opportunities for them to save his life. I mean, they even had, like I said, a trained EMT right there. Or was she an EMT, or was she was off duty, right? She worked at the fire station. What was she? I can't remember exactly her name, but she was trained. She could have saved his life, and they would not let her.
Right.
And on top of that, they didn't do anything to save his life. He said he couldn't breathe.
Yeah.
They didn't do anything to. You're absolutely right. If that was me in that situation, yes, I would have gotten up. I wouldn't have been down there. I would have tried to get some help from somewhere. But we're not talking about what we would do. We're talking about what they did on the job
Right.
on their first week as a police officer.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't know what the jury is gonna decide. I honestly don't know, because you got to have people who are thinking like you, Darrin and Dad. Like, would you have done it? No, I would have got up. Then you have people thinking, well, this is their livelihood.
Yeah.
Would they have been retaliated against by the whole department? Would they have been retaliated against if they didn't follow orders? Would they lose their livelihood? These are two different sides of the argument.
Yeah. No, I agree. But I think it has to come to a point where more and more people decide to do the right thing.
Do the right
and
thing.
not do what you think you should or should not do because of your position. That's what's coming to be at stake right now.
But it's always been like that with the police department. You know the history, or you know the rumors of the Kenosha. Sorry, that's not Kenosha.
Speaking of Kenosha, I got a story for you though.
Was it Minneapolis or Indianapolis?
Minneapolis.
The police department. Remember, they were saying that it's a very tight knit department.
Yeah.
You know, So I mean, I'm not speaking.
What's the story that you have for Kenosha?
Yeah.
Oh, for Kenosha, the story I have in Kenosha is that Dominic Black was the guy who bought Kyle Rittenhouse the AR-15.
Okay.
Oh yeah,
and
he got charged, right?
They actually they're going to drop the charges.
He was there.
He was they had him set up. He was supposed to be. It was a felony case, and on Friday, Assistant District Attorney Thomas Binger filed a proposed plea agreement, and it suggested that he would plead no contest to criminal citation and pay a $2,000 fine, and the felony counts would be dismissed.
So he basically is admitting that he's guilty. If you're saying that there's no contest, what does that tell you? What does that say to you? It says to me that he's basically guilty. He knows he's guilty, and yet they're going to get him off anyways.
But let's talk about this.
It's the region. It's where he's at. Kyle Rittenhouse got off, so they're going to get his boy off, and this guy should do time. He should do time.
A weapon to a minor who killed someone with that weapon that you provided.
And the thing about
it just makes me so mad. It just makes me so mad.
And Judge Schroeder, the same judge during the Kyle Rittenhouse trial, Judge Schroeder basically he can reject the deal or just dismiss the original felony counts altogether. He could reject it or just altogether.
Do you think judges have too much power in this country?
Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. It depends on, and I take it back. The power of the judge is fine. I think judges need oversight. I think there should be a elected oversight. It should be. I think the oversight should consist of a combination of lawyers and civilians. in this situation, and only
Okay.
because although civilians may not have the legal, education as lawyers or these different prosecutors or defendants attorneys, all these different type of people, but they give you the human aspect of what just happened.
What about
Now,
There's
but
a
the thing
system of
about
what
it,
about like a
checks and
jury?
balances in place,
What
though.
about like a
the
jury of
thing
their
about it,
peers, like
the
other
thing, the
judges
thing,
would determine,
well,
would be the oversight?
like I said, it could be a combination of different groups of people for this committee. But what I'm saying is that you need that civilian aspect to it. But on the other hand, the 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 legal people will educate that civilian when
Yeah.
it comes down to this oversight committee. But you need that human side, that civilian side to it, because attorneys are doing too many things now, are getting away with, not attorney, law judges are getting away with
Yep.
rulings that they're completely is not complete, it's completely unjustified.
Yeah.
Well, Dad, I want to say this though. There is a system of checks and balances. Okay, so judges, but so when you're saying there should be oversight, we got to remember that judges can be impeached. Judges
Okay,
can be removed from their benches.
it's
We just,
rare.
well,
It's
we just
rare.
saw it
Very
happen.
rare.
We just saw it happen. So I think it's rare, but I think we're
No,
going to see it
no.
more often.
Judges step down.
No, he was removed.
Which one?
He was the case last week we were talking about where he vacated a conviction of a man who raped a 16-year-old girl.
Right.
He was
Yeah,
removed from office.
right.
So that's the thing is like so it's by the state legislatures they can
That's
impeach.
rare. But that's rare.
So it's rare, but I think we're gonna see more of it based on
Maybe.
how progressive we are becoming as a country.
Okay.
In my personal opinion.
Yeah.
I mean,
Depending on
should
the
be
issues.
there should be
Depending
a
on the issues.
committee. There should be an oversight committee, I think, that looks over
But
that.
how would that be established by state? By how?
It will have to be state because each state has its own laws, rulings on cases. Every state is not the same on how they sentence people, how they, convict people. It's different.
Now,
So it
I
has
didn't
to be
know
ran from a state. It has to be done from a state level
yeah, I think so.
because that's just how the judicial systems work.
So Felicia says, I did not hear this story. To add insult to injury and to add to my level of blood pressure this morning, Rittenhouse has filed a motion to have his weapon returned to him.
Yeah. Well, I saw that. This morning also. But the thing with Rittenhouse is that he was found innocent. So that's the only reason why he can probably fight to get his gun back, although it was a murder weapon. That's going to be something. I'm not sure how they're going to rule on that.
That's crazy. Is he 18 now?
He's 18 now, I think.
Can they bring charges up on something else? What else did he do?
Well, nothing really. Nothing. I mean, they can't really. That case is done. It's not even.
It makes me sick that they are parading him around as some sort of hero. That makes me sick. That makes me sick. The interviews and everything like that. That just burns me.
Yeah,
that burns me.
It does, and it's something that will. This is not going to go away. It's going to always be there. But I think that if we
literally got away with murder,
I think that if what happens is that this has to be closely monitored. The same situation won't happen again like that, in my opinion. The only way it's going to continue to happen again, what's going to stop, I take it back, what's going to stop it from happening again is when the person who is in his shoes, Kyle Rittenhouse's shoes, somebody retaliates or something. Because it's everything in the law in Kenosha went to his favor by law, and they're not going to change the law. So as people got to start standing up to it more so than anything. They're not changing the law in Kenosha, Wisconsin.
Mm-hmm.
It's sad. It's disturbing.
It just seems like when you go over the facts of the case, everything that he said should have been he shouldn't have been out there. So everything that he said shouldn't have even applied to the situation.
Right. But remember, the judge, remember I said I'm learning more about rulings now. The judge took everything that happened before the shooting out of the trial. You couldn't talk about the fact that he wasn't supposed to be there. You
Yep.
can't talk about the fact that he was on private property,
Yep.
protecting private property he had no authorization to protect. All that was out of the conversation, which then
Thanks to
leads
the
to what
judge.
right, that was the judge. That's why we need oversight.
Yep.
What was that?
Hold on, guys. Sorry.
What did she say? What's Leanne say?
Slightly off topic. My son's history teacher, ninth grade history teacher, told the class that Black Lives Matter is a communist group. And that's why they use the front-facing fist. I'm pissed and don't know what to do about it. Obviously, I talked to my son about why that's wrong. But am I being over the top? Don't conservatives say it's liberals that are trying to indoctrinate kids?
Thank you. Yeah, it's not just one side or the other. They both do it. We're talking about you're talking conservatives like to talk about activist judges and how the judges have too much power and they make rulings, this and that. Conservative judges do the same dang thing. And in education, we talk about indoctrinating kids' minds and they're being brainwashed by leftists.
Yeah.
Here we have a case of exactly the opposite.
Yeah.
Now,
and the thing
this burns me. This burns me. This burns me.
Well, it's always
a lie.
If you look at Black Lives Matter, and what their umbrella like type of stance is for, which is equality and against police brutality, every organization or Black person who speaks out against that is considered a communist. Malcolm X was a communist or a Marxist. Stokely Carmichael was a communist or a Marxist. Martin Luther King was a communist or a Marxist.
Get into it. Sorry, go ahead.
Every one of these organizations, the Black Panthers, a communist or a Marxist.
They're using old tropes. They're using old tropes.
They use things to scare people.
You see, Joe Biden is a communist.
So
Kamala Harris is a communist.
So the thing about it is that when people,
they don't even know what they're talking about.
Like Leanne said, her son brought this up. Leanne's school teacher brought this up. Now, Leanne needs to go back and say, hey, why is it that every time someone speaks out against what America is doing to minorities, in this case, police brutality, why is it that they're labeled a communist?
Yeah.
Because you give me one
against America,
give me one organization that's not considered a communist. Every one of them.
What gets me too is this, Dad. Here's what I keep calling you Dad, LaMarr. What gets me too is this. Is that
we're colloquial here,
that
right?
Black Lives Matter is supposed to be standing for, equality, everything you just named, I don't have to go back down the list, is what America says that they stand for anyway.
Yeah.
Is what America says they stand for anyway. A free country.
Yeah. So this is where
an equal country, a melting pot country. We value
I'm sorry, I keep interrupting you.
No, I'm not looking at you like that. I'm just I'm in the zone because it's crazy to me how over the years, and this is what's always been baffling to me, is over the years through every movement we see that the oppressed, we uprise and we try to get equality. We try to gain equality. We try by going through the steps that this country says we should take. We try doing the legal route of it. Then we get knocked down. So then we try to, still the legal route, which is, protesting, peacefully protesting, blah, 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 right? The same things we go over and over, do over and over again. And we're fighting for things that this country has already promised to us that they're not delivering on.
We're just trying to get back to the Bill of Rights all the time.
But guess what, guys? They promised it to us, but they didn't promise it to us. They promised it to actual Americans, people that are considered Americans. Which
going back to the Mitch McConnell quote as we had at the beginning of the shows.
We are
Americans, and then you have the hashtag Americans, right?
Well, you have the history of anyone that's not white being othered.
Yep.
Okay.
African Americans, Asian Americans, Hispanic Americans.
Asian Americans. Where is
Vietnamese
why is there an asterisk on my nationality?
Where is that at? Where are you looking at?
We don't talk about Polish Americans
I'm
anymore.
saying you have exactly. We don't call them We don't
Italian
call them
Americans,
post-Americans.
Irish Americans.
Yeah, they're just American. They're just American.
Yeah.
But you're othered when you have skin tone. And if you think about racism as a whole, it's absolutely psychotic. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
It's like a mental illness to think that the thing that separates us is the color of our skin. To think that we have the same blood, to think that our anatomy is pretty much the same on the inside, and to think that that's the color of my skin makes me different from you. How? And I feel like racism had to have started because of some ridiculous insecurity.
Well, was it with the Spain or Poland?
In many cases,
this person's bigger than me. This person's smarter than me. They have more intelligence than I do. They carry themselves. They're more regal than I am. So I must find a way to make them inferior. Let's go over and colonize an entire continent. First of all,
Native Americans.
The entire world is colonized by the British.
They should be the ones that are called Americans, right?
I
mean, why don't we call Native Americans Americans?
Why? It's their land. Why are we not called
people?
Why are we
Americans?
Why are they called Native Americans?
They are Americans. They were here for centuries before us.
They're called Americans. They were named Americans. What were they called before we were here? They had their own names. They had their own tribes. They had their own.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I mean, in many cases, people of color that are Americans are more American than white people.
By the values,
they've been here longer. They were here long. As far if you want to use that article, that argument.
You guys are going off on a whole different topic.
Whoever was here longest.
I'm so sorry because this is like.
I mean, if you want to go by like whoever was here longest. I don't know my descent, but most likely I would have been people of descent would have came over in the beginning part of the 20th century.
I want to point out, guys, that I have double simian palms. My ancestry has to be Native American. That's a Native American thing.
So you're we know we have
Native American in our family, in our blood. But in case there was any type of dispute for that or any type of we need proof.
Yeah, but there were definitely people here way before.
No, I'm just kidding.
Spain came over here and said they discovered America.
Yeah, remember the talk with who was that? That talk that he went to the kids. They were what was that guy? The one guy. We hate this guy. Who is he? We hate this guy. It was Santos, right?
Okay.
DeSantis. Okay.
No.
Governor DeSantis. The other white governor. I don't know.
Yeah, he said.
What state?
Well, he talked to the group of kids about Native Americans, and how there was no culture before we came here.
Oh yes.
Okay.
Yeah, that was
not we before we was drug here against our will, but them before when they came here, they before the Pilgrims.
Well, there are some things here that I see that that say that
I think it was Rick Santorum. That was Rick Santorum. Yeah, he's Rick Santorum.
There's we've been talking about like Native Americans, why they're the first. There's some evidence that some Africans were here, sailed to this land before Columbus.
I wouldn't
and
doubt
one
it.
of
I wouldn't doubt
and
it.
one of them that I know about was that narcotics were found in the wrapped Egyptian mummies from those ancient mummies. There were samples of that narcotics from plants that only derived in America. And,
so like the Incas would have traded with the Egyptians across the African continent.
Right. They said they're only known to be derived from American plants and Egyptian mummies. These substances include South American cocaine and nicotine from I can't pronounce these words. There was a German toxicologist reported these findings, which suggested that such compounds made their way to Africa through transatlantic trade that would predate Columbus' arrival by thousands of years.
I wouldn't
Egyptian artifacts in North America. They're saying there's evidence of Africans being here back as far as 445 BC. The Greek historian Herodotus wrote of King Ramus III leading a team of Africans at sea with astounding seafaring with navigational skills. Together, both accounts are pointing to Africans sailing over the New World before Columbus. What else? They use the pyramids as an example, because if you notice,
the pyramids
in South America
in
and
South
Mexico,
and
there are
Central
pyramids
America.
that are similar.
Yeah. How's that? How did that happen?
And you look at the facial features have wide noses like Africans did. Some of the South American African art and structures and monuments, those ancient monuments, had wide noses. Who would have done that or taught them how to do that? So construction of pyramids are highly specialized and complicated tasks that took the ancient Egyptians a lot of time to master. So in ancient Egypt, there are signs of progression from the original step pyramid of Djoser to a more sophisticated pyramid that now stands at Giza. According to historians, it would be impossible for any group of people to have built those same complex pyramids without going through the same progression.
Yeah.
So Professor Everett Borders noted the presence of completed pyramids in La Venta in Mexico, but the unusual absence of any earlier forms of pyramids, according to the Borders. It's a sign that Africans, having already mastered the construction of the pyramids in Egypt, sailed to the New World and constructed these dual-purpose tombs and temples in the Americas. So you think about that. You see the progression of how something started really simple looking to being extravagant.
Yeah.
They didn't have that in Mexico. It went right to a normal looking pyramid.
Yeah.
Whether they were square topped or pointed, there wasn't the raggedy looking ones. And you see the progression to being something that looks nice.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, this is slightly on topic. Angela Bassett is producing a documentary that I will make sure to watch. This comes out at the beginning of February 7th, I believe, with Smithsonian, which I believe is a part of Disney Plus. So I think I have access to this. So I want to watch this. 1,000 years of slavery. We talked about the 500 years of slavery in the 1692 project. 1692 project. I'm sorry.
1619.
I'm sorry, 1619. Gosh.
Yeah, no problem. That's all right.
I was confusing Columbus.
This right here.
1492. 1619 project. So we talked about the 500 years of slavery in
I got it on my phone.
Here in North America.
I don't know why I disappeared off screen.
No, that was good. I like that.
That was good.
Because I didn't go buy it. I got it on my phone and I have it on my computer. I got it on my computer, but I don't have it. I don't have the book yet.
I don't know why.
Wow.
Well, I don't know why it's right here.
You have it right there. Nice. No, it's good.
Yeah, I like that.
We planned this, folks.
We did not. We definitely did. It was a coordination.
Yeah. Bria had that book in hand as soon as I mentioned it.
Anyway, yeah. So, go on. Sorry.
So the 1,000 years of slavery, MTV Entertainment Studios, Smithsonian Channel are set to commemorate Black History Month, which begins in February with the premiere of a 4-part documentary series, 1,000 Years of Slavery: The Untold Story. Narrated by Courtney B. Vance, docuseries explores the legacy of slavery and how our shared history can create a better future. It's slated to premiere on February 7th, as I said. It uncovers the truth of a 1,000-year-old story of slavery around the world, leading Black actors, celebrities, influences such as Debbie Allen, Valerie Jarrett, Lorraine Toussaint, Soledad O'Brien, CC H. Pounder, Senator Cory Booker, Mark Morrell, Dooley Hill will be featured in this series and confront their personal connection to slavery and its legacy today.
Well, this is perfect. February 7th, yes. I am trying to put together. I think I told you guys this before, that I'm in Mocha Moms, a organization here. So I'm the president this year of the Kansas City chapter, and I'm currently putting together our Black History Month. So this is going to fall perfectly in that.
Can you just for me, because I'm ignorant. So what Mocha Moms means? What define that for me.
Mocha Moms, we are an organization and we support mothers of color and
Okay.
mothers with children of color.
Okay.
And I mean, everyone's welcome to join our organization. We obviously don't discriminate or anything, but specifically Mocha Moms is to support mothers of color, to provide a support system. We have support groups that we do events together. We have Marriage Celebration Month, which is in March. We basically just celebrate the Black family, the minority family, and that's what we do. We're very active. We're a national organization. So if most likely your city has a Mocha Moms chapter.
We should do a show on that. We should have you guys on.
Yeah, definitely. What is the reason the Mocha Moms came about? What made it known that they needed this support?
Okay, it started in Washington, D.C. And I can bring up Mocha Moms, the national organization, and I'll tell you.
Yeah, that's one of like what
in 1997.
A lot of these organizations like that it's something that stems it, where it's like, okay, this is why it had to start. And I mean, I understand it. You spelled that wrong, right?
Yeah, sorry, it's CHA.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So it started to encourage the spirit of community activism and service among its members. And in fact, they're very heavily involved in Black civil rights and protesting for change. They just sent out a newsletter for Martin Luther King Day, and they were talking about really being active while we were there deliberating on the Voting Rights Act. So, but it started with that. They noticed the need for support for Black mothers. They noticed the need in the Black community, where a lot of times, I mean, we're overlooked. Black mothers are overlooked in Black women are overlooked in every single industry in this country. Okay. From healthcare, we're underrepresented. I know I've been talking about this a lot, but within the law, and especially when you look at the disparity in hospitals of we're more likely to die than any other demographic.
Yeah.
In the hospital. And it's something that's not talked about enough. You only see it when it has to do with, like a Black show. Like, honestly, that's where you see it talked about, is within the community of Black people. You don't see it talked about enough outside of that. We're underrepresented in the corporate world. We're underrepresented everywhere.
So true.
And so Mocha Moms, we are supporting mothers of color. In our organization, we have mothers who are stay-at-home moms. And that's what it started out actually was for stay-at-home moms. But we have stay-at-home moms. We have moms who are working. We have moms with older children, younger children. We have every type of mother in Mocha Moms.
That's great.
It's such a wonderful organization. I've been in it for 4 years now, and I would not have a sisterhood if I wasn't.
I want to do a show on that.
Oh yeah,
have you guys on.
I can reach out to her name is LaShonda. I'll reach out to her. She's she's on the executive board, our national.
So speaking of future shows, next week, I would be remiss if I did not mention this, as we were instructed to do. Carmen Jenkins is a life coach. She will be our guest next week. She's a clinical social worker, and she worked in various mental health settings. She has a background in substance abuse a little bit. So she's going to be talking about families, life skills, crisis mental health care, medical social work, and specifically in a Christian setting, in a Christian community. So we'll look forward to that. Her name is Carmen Jenkins. So that will be our guest next week. Don't make sure to come back next week, same time, same channel.
Yeah. Mental health is very serious in our country, from the regular, everyday citizen to our law enforcement and military. So I think that's why this is such a great conversation. And she's speaking February 5th, I think it is, in Washington, D.C.
Wow.
So she's going to be, that's how we started talking. She sent me some information, and I kind of like threw her on the spot, like, wow, you want to come on the show and talk about this? And that's how our dialogue started.
No, this would be great. Plenty of people have issues in wintertime. So now that it's darker, we're more shut in, and we're shut in because of COVID. It has spiked again. So it's still an issue. Still an issue.
Okay. Well, I will say, before we get to this, I want to say one last thing. But before we get to the bottom line, I don't know if y'all heard about the IRS, but starting the summer, they're going to start requiring facial recognition if you and pay your taxes. That's all.
Wow.
Oh, so
Facial recognition, like you have
bring
to
more of that next week too. Bring more of that story next week.
Yeah. Okay. The bottom line. What are you thinking, Darrin? What's your bottom line for today?
Wow, so many things, so many topics. Many things we didn't get to. Meatloaf was a character. He sang with a lot of exuberance. He died on Friday. I remember his stuff from Rocky Horror Picture Show. Some cool songs. So sorry to see him go. Sanford and Son has surpassed 50 years.
Hey,
I
play that
watched
video.
that show. I watched that show in the 70s, and I thought it was hilarious. Hilarious show.
Play that video.
When I was a kid. So.
Play that video right quick.
You looking down on all this, honey? The celebration has just begun. Oh, this is the biggest one I ever had. I'm having a party. I know where I'm having it.
I never stopped thinking about how audiences warmed up to each other as they laughed at whatever was being presented to them.
Don't make me laugh.
Sanford and Son, with the characters, like Fred reminded me of some of my uncles.
Bubba, pull in that stomach.
I just did.
A show around celebrating black culture. That's kind of legendary in and of itself.
Right up. On.
Norman's passion that he brings to TV and entertainment, I think that's inspirational.
A good episode, a good show, was a giant love affair.
It was just a funny show, great show.
And the party is over. Get out.
I got a
funny.
question.
Still funny.
I got a question. I think over the years we have kind of coddled or comforted American TV viewers in regards to how we talk about cultural differences. If you take shows like
That's a big topic.
All in the Family, The Jeffersons,
Mm-hmm.
Sanford and Son, Chico and the Man, you remember that?
Yeah.
If you take these shows and put them out today, they would be controversial.
Mm-hmm.
They would be all, but if you really go back and look at those shows and look at some of all those shows and look at some of the reality in it and look at why did people, like you look at George Jefferson, why did he act the way he acted? Why was he so honorary at times? And the way he was just outspoken. And some things you would say, wow, how could he just say that? You know, could it be the road he took to get to where he's at? Mm-hmm. And who he and the battles
That's
that
a
he had
big
to
topic.
take.
That's
It is
very interesting to me.
And it's like, and you know people like that. I know people like that that have taken a long road, not my age, but people that are older than me who achieved some things and was like, they say what the heck they want to say because they're basically saying no one has a right to tell me anything because I fought for all this. I pulled myself up by the bootstraps like you wanted me to, and I'm here. And they say it how they want to say it. They call you what they want to call you and don't care about the consequences.
Charles Wiggins.
Not saying right. Well, sort of could be. There's some plus and minuses with that. There was some plus and minuses with that. We'll
that's
talk about that.
I'm saying that's who I'm thinking of.
You would think so, but there's some pluses and minuses with that.
I'm also the great.
I'm talking about George Jefferson said it to anybody. He didn't care who you were. He's gonna tell you how he feel, when he feel, and how he felt it. So, but yeah, so that would be controversial today. Those type of shows, and I would like, that would be a good conversation to talk about that because you learned a lot. I mean, that's what makes shows like.
Partly that's what made it funny and entertaining, though.
But not even the funny part. take the funny part out, just how people think. They were telling you things how people thought that they don't talk about publicly.
We gotta think that some of the shows now today that do talk about the what it was like during the 50s and what it was like during the 60s for Black people.
Yeah.
I mean, there was just a show, Lovecraft Country was canceled.
Yeah.
It made a lot of white folks uncomfortable.
Yeah. Did you
Like,
see?
really uncomfortable. But if you
have
look
you
at
guys seen-
it, it is not inaccurate. I mean, it's a little over the top because it's all based off of Lovecraft books. But at the same time, I think it was a genius.
I'm not sure what to think about Different Strokes. Now, that's another show that I watched.
Extremely racist.
Different Strokes?
No, I'm still talking about H.P. Lovecraft. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, yeah.
No, but Different Strokes, I think, and like Family, what is the other one? Facts of Life. I think that came after
Trudy?
those shows of the 70s because although they were real life situations in them, I think the reality part of these older shows were more prevalent. It was more direct. You could understood it. You could understand it. They made Different Strokes fit the time period. They made Facts of Life fit it. But if you look at you ever there's a new show I just started watching. It's called Grand Crew. It's on NBC. It's with four guys and their friends. What it's like it's almost remember Living Single? It's similar to that. It's just friends who's hanging out together. But the thing about it is they're all being themselves. And for like it's called Grand Crew.
Okay.
And I just started watching it. But what it is that you have these 4 different men from different walks of life, different types of life, but they just hang out every week, these buddies. But you see a lot of white shows like this, where you're just looking at these people's lives. It's no big plot to it. It's just every day, every episode is about what happened in their life today.
Okay.
And this is about it from a Black experience. So you have these people, they're like, people in the investment industry. You have a guy who's a stay-at-home dad. Not dad, but a husband that takes care of the house, and his wife's an attorney. You got one guy who's the freeloader, he stays with a friend, but it's just talking about their life without any extra. Like you look at Blackish, it's always the extra, which is a good show also. But this is just no extra. It's just Black men just being who they are.
Okay.
I'll
have to check it
slang, their interaction, and we can sit back and appreciate it because we can say, "Oh, man, I know somebody just like that," or "Yeah, I act just like that." And when you have shows like that, it gives you that it just makes you feel comfortable as a Black viewer to see a show that isn't geared around or highlighted with the words, "This is a Black show." You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's a new show. It's out now. Because when you look at Friends, Seinfeld, you don't think about, oh, this is a white show. It's just these guys hanging out and they doing their thing every week.
Yeah,
every episode is just life.
Yeah.
Black shows always have to have a specific type of target. And
what
we needed that. We don't need that. We don't need it like that anymore.
I hope we don't.
I will say that there is also a new show called Harlem with Megan Good.
I haven't seen it yet. Yeah, I haven't seen it yet. Is it good?
I don't think you would like it. So if you've ever seen Sex and the City, right?
Yes.
It is literally a Black Sex in the City. Literally. And I think that this is all
the main characters
Black
are women
have
then?
ever wanted in life. I mean, we had girlfriends. That's cool. But Sex and the City is a show that I think all women of all colors really liked because it makes us like it's relatable to us, right?
Was Desperate Housewives like that?
I've never seen that. I've never seen
Okay.
that. But what I will say is that Sex and the City follows a group of friends in New York City.
Yes.
And their issues that they, Carrie Bradshaw and like Miranda, these are I don't know if y'all ever seen it, but Sex in the City is a great show.
I haven't seen it. I know about it.
Black Sex in the City now, which is basically Harlem. It is literally a Black Sex in the City, and it's better than Sex in the City. It is I know I've said that a million times, but it's such a good show because it's relatable. Like, it's so relatable. I mean, I'm married, so it's not relatable to me necessarily. But some of the other stuff that they go through, like the insecurities, the problems with race, the being undervalued as a woman. Even I was talking about earlier, being discounted in a hospital. You're clearly sick, and they're trying to send you home. Yes, I binge watched Harlem in 2 days.
Wow,
that's 10 hours of my life. Such a good show.
I just saw one recently.
We should have a TV show. I mean, we should do a show about TV shows.
Yeah.
Let's do that. Let's add that on, not next week, but maybe the following week. The first Saturday.
Talk about these things, like the cultural issues revolving around these shows. Yeah.
And the thing about it,
trigger.
We want to highlight the shows, not because it's a minority show, but it's a show that's really good. And I think that another thing that bothers me about these type of shows, at least in the past, that's the only time you see black advertising, like geared toward black community, is during a black show. Like if you watch back in the day, every time you watch Soul Train, it was always hair products.
Yeah.
So it was just them thinking that.
Or some movie that's on. And I thought that was like, is that the only time? Yeah, 18. But when you look at, you need shows now to be able to fit into a time slot and still have the right advertisers. We shouldn't have to have we always know advertisers are geared toward your audience. We know that.
Yeah.
But that's when only time you see an abundance of black advertising. And is it just me, or does it seem like right now every commercial has an interracial couple in it?
I was gonna.
Well, you remember what was it? Was it a Cheerio? It was a Cheerio commercial.
Okay.
Remember that? And it wasn't that long ago. They had a interracial couple.
Yeah.
And it made a stir. And now you see it all the time. No one says anything. No one even thinks.
Well, you had to.
The problem is this. It's not the emphasis on interracial relationships. That's not the problem. The problem is the emphasis on black men with white women, or black men with Asian women, or black men with other women other than, because you don't really see it with white men and black women. You see it sometimes.
Yeah.
But what I would say is
that's fair.
Emphasis on black men and other women.
That's true.
I see an emphasis on.
Yeah.
So what I will say is, there's nothing wrong with highlighting interracial relationships, because that's the direction our country is moving in.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. I don't mind seeing white and Asian people, or Hispanic and whatever. I don't mind that. It's just the emphasis on trying to tear apart the black family. That's all.
Oh.
But I saw a lot. It just seemed like they just popped up everywhere after the summer of 2020, when racism and the conversation about race hit its peak.
That's true.
Because what I think it was is that they're pushing it from they want the optics to see this is where we're at. The optics need to see it, not what you hear, what you feel. Now, because TV, people get most of what they learn from TV. Majority of the time. I'm not saying everybody, but a lot of the only time you learn about other cultures is because you watch it on TV. Because I know like myself, I have different friends of different ethnic groups that I know well. And I have, white friends who say they don't. So what they know about a black family or a black community is what they've seen on TV. Either it's a Different Strokes family, is it the Cosby Show family? Is it that's what they know of that culture from TV. So now these commercials are showing these interracial couples, which is a good thing. I like that. But Bria made a good point that I think needs to be highlighted. That you don't want to not emphasize black families together. Also, you don't want to. You want to see that part.
This is what it is. You see black men choosing other women, white, Asian, whatever, and you see black women not having a choice.
Yeah,
to go outside of black men is what it looks like. Is what it looks like to me. And then I've heard other women express. It's not that we want to date another race of man. It's just we have no luck with our own men, or our own men are going to other women.
But that's what the narrative is showing.
That is what's painted on TV. Whenever you see a story of a black woman dating a white guy, it's kind. If there is a preface to it, it's always like, oh, well, I don't know if I should date this white guy. Oh, well, is that allowed for me to date this white guy? Man, never date a white guy. I mean, we've all seen that movie with Sanaa Lathan, and she cut her hair. She was dating the white, the interior designer guy. I don't know. I
can't think of the name of it. Can't think of the name of
it. That is the narrative that we normally see. Whereas when we see the other way around, it's the black men seeking out these other women. It's the black men overlooking us black women because of our hair is not kept, or we complain too much, or we're nagging, or we're too strong. You know, we're not submissive enough. That is what we see on TV. I just want to you guys to understand.
No, I agree. I agree with that.
That's
it's not never.
We should talk about that. We should find a way to talk about that. I think
that.
If
it's always something deeper.
Well, we're 16 minutes over. So, did we ever do our bottom line? Darrin, you get your bottom line?
Well, I started on it, and I don't even know what I was going to say, but
you cut in on his Sanford
I
and
just
Son,
wanted to. I just wanted to mention Sanford and Son, and we got off on that. That's fine. That's fine. That's cool. That's cool.
So, what we got, man?
Sorry.
I think that I'm looking forward to the football playoffs, and I'm picking Kansas City. I'm picking Green Bay for the Super Bowl. So I'm not putting any money on it though.
So you think it's going to be Kansas City and Green Bay
for the Super Bowl? Yeah.
Okay. What's your bottom line for today, Bri?
My bottom line is that we still need to be on the fight. Okay, we still need to be fighting for civil rights. We need to be fighting for our equality. It doesn't stop just because we've run into walls before. It doesn't stop because this Voting Rights Act did not pass. We have to still keep fighting. We still have to be present. Your vote does count. It's a setback, but we will keep fighting like we always have. The other thing is, I don't know about this. The IRS using the requiring facial recognition for the taxes. I think I'm at my limit. Come on, Joe. What's going on? What is going on? That's too much.
Yeah, I agree. My bottom line for today is continually to build relationships. I always want you to build relationships and get to know people better. The other thing with my bottom line is I would like to see schools now. I saw some things where some teachers are going outside of the box to teach history and to have these topics of discussion that schools are banning. I want to applaud those teachers. One teacher in, I think it was Florida, left the school district and went to another school where he can teach because he was there 30 years. He was a school in this new school district, and he left because the threats of him not being able to teach the way he can teach.
Yeah.
And so I want to applaud the teachers that are fighting against the grain with this and can educate our children the proper way and not to be intimidated by these laws. So, and also Super Bowl, I got Kansas City and the Rams.
Oh, okay.
I want to see OBJ have a Super Bowl ring.
I see you're picking the Rams to win it.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think the Chiefs are going to take it this year.
Yeah.
I think.
I want to see the Browns get a gut shot.
I like the Rams against the Buccaneers, though.
Yeah. And
I like Cincy. I think Cincy's going to be Tennessee.
Yeah, that's possible. Baker Mayfield had a surgery the other day, too, by the way.
Yes.
He had a surgery, got 4 to 6 weeks recovery. So we'll see what happens. And with that, y'all, I'm out.
Make sure we come in next week for Carmen Jenkins as our guest, and we look forward to that. And have a good week, and may you be good to yourself and stay warm. Stay warm out there. At least in Ohio, it's like 16 degrees.
It was 19 degrees here this morning.
What?
It was 19 degrees. When I left out this morning, when I first got online with you
Good gracious.
But it's supposed to be 54 today. We'll see if it gets there.
Oh, wow. Jeez, that's big. That's a big swing. All right.
Yeah.
All right, you guys.
Hey, Felicia, you have a good week, too.
Oh, yeah.
Take care, everyone.
Take care. Bye.
Bye.
We are out.